man may not be on the top of his form, but he can still make himself useful.
Welcome back to the By Design Show. I am your host, Ronnie Knuckles, and today I've got a super special guest. I'm extremely grateful that he came on. We've got Jerry Eaves. He is a local Louisville legend. If you're a Louisville basketball fan or a college basketball fan, there's a good chance that you have heard of or know Jerry Eaves, so I am extremely grateful you came on today, man.
Oh, without a doubt. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks. So Jerry and I met. Jerry was doing some... What did you say? You were stealing money to sell cars? Is that
Absolutely. Mike, I mean, the Vine family's been so good to the Eaves, I can't even express it. I mean, honestly. So I came in 10 years ago with my son, playing his senior year. And, of course, Mike Vine, Andy Vine, and Jim Haynes welcomed me in. And I was there for a year before I took the Simmons College athletic director head coaching job and AD's job.
Very, very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a new technician, and Jerry had needed a tune-up done on his Corvette. And so he had reached out, and I'd done the tune-up, and somebody walked out, and they said, do you know who you were just working on? Whose car you were just working on? And I said, I have no idea. They said, that's Jerry Eaves. So I went and Googled Jerry Eaves, and I'm like, oh, man, I need to I need to talk to this guy some more.
Yeah, you Googled the expression was about that long.
Yeah.
3 words.
Well, that was before you had done the Amazing Race and all that
all
stuff.
The good things, yes.
But yeah, so Jerry took Louisville to their first national championship in 1980 under Denny Crum, who was a college basketball legend. Then you went on and coached and played, and you have an extensive career in basketball. And so for anyone curious about that, all you got to do is look up Jerry Eaves and you go check it out yourself. But I really wanted to get to know you, behind the basketball. I know you're from Louisville, so you kind of got to live out a Kentucky kid's dream. You grow up in a city that's college basketball. You get to play for that university and then eventually go on to coach a school in the city and become an AD in the city. So what was your journey like? What led you into basketball and what did that look like translating out into playing college and playing in the NBA?
Well, I mean, when you start to talk about athletics in the Eaves family, it always equates back to my brother, Kerry Eaves, my older brother. I played at Seneca High School, signed at University of Kentucky, the 5th black athlete to sign at University of Kentucky in football. So I was going on Kentucky's campus way before I ever touched University of Louisville's campus.
Very cool.
To watch my older brother. And I watched him play at Seneca, and they had great teams. And I saw the Wes Unsills, the Mike Reds play. That's when I was growing up. The David Cosbys is when I was like, oh, this is great as a young kid. I just loved going with my dad to the games. So, of course, watching my 2 brothers play, and then I had another older brother named Larry Eaves who played at Westport, and it just progressed from there.
Yeah.
We always had an athletic family. My father thought it was important, even though he didn't play a sport.
Yeah.
He said he thought, sports would keep you out of trouble and keep you active and grow your mind physically, mentally, and spiritually, and that's what we did. So that kind of hooked me at a young age.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with that. I've got, I played some ball back in like middle school, high school, and then I ended up going to Fern Creek here in Louisville. And
Stan Harden.
What's that?
The great Stan Harden.
Yeah, there was Mario Uridia for U of L, played at Fern Creek as well. He had graduated my sophomore year. So anyway, I had gotten away from athletics probably my junior year and ended up going in the military, but there's a lot of crossover there. So we're talking, physical and mental discipline. And I think you're right. And so with my young kids, we've gotten them into sports. I think there's something to it. It gives you an ability to focus. And so you got out and you went and played professionally. So you took it to the next level. What was that like? Coming out of being a college player is one thing, and winning a national championship for, taking the school to their first national championship had to be incredible. But what's the gap? So you're doing it in a college level and then going into it professionally.
Well, the growth in sports, a lot of kids now want microwave society, want it quickly. But it didn't come that way. So, of course, I went to Ballard High School, great tutelage, Richard Smith, Donnie Salyer, learned how to play and understand the game.
Yeah.
From that point, ended up being a McDonald's All-American, which was a really great accolade that I wanted. And from there, I signed with the University of Louisville. That was the second progression.
Yeah.
And had to earn a starting job, had to earn everything that we got with Coach Crum. Nothing was given. everything was earned. And again, it was a struggle mentally and physically because everyone was good.
Yeah.
Everyone was pushing.
Yeah.
It was very competitive. So that was the second step. Winning the national championship, Scooter and I, Wiley Brown, we talk about it all the time, and Darryl, it was expected. After we won it, we got on the bus from Indianapolis coming back to Louisville, and it was expected. No one was acting really abnormal. It was expected until we crossed the bridge and everyone jumped on the bus and the entire city was waiting for us, that we understand what we had accomplished. But as for players, it was expected.
Yeah, you'd set the tone.
Yes, I mean, this is what we were here to do. And then after that, of course, we went back to another Final Four in '82. Probably the greatest Final Four ever. That's the Michael Jordan era.
Yeah.
So you had Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, Derek Smith, Scooter McCrae, Rodney McCrae, Jerry Eaves, Sleepy Floyd. I mean, the list goes on and on. Oh, Clyde Drexler, Larry Michaud.
Some huge names just in that list.
It was the greatest Final Four ever as a collection. There's not close.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There were, they said 6 top 50 NBA players. So Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. That's 4. Who am I forgetting? My goodness. Houston 2. Patrick Ewing Sleepy Floyd didn't make it, just like I didn't, Derek didn't. But so there were 4 top 50 players of all time in the NBA in that Final Four.
Did you get to play against MJ in that Final Four?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, we did not. We lost to Georgetown in the semifinals. They beat Houston in the semifinals.
Gotcha.
So that's how they ended up playing. We lost 50-46, and Georgetown played zone the entire game. They pressed us like we pressed them. We played man-to-man. They played zone, and we just couldn't make shots in that. That's when the first Superdome game, 72,000 people. So that was the second step. Then I was drafted by the Utah Jazz, and Frank Layden told me very candidly on the phone there was no green rooms. I was working the basketball camp at Louisville, and Judy Cowgill called me, and Coach Crum's assistant said, the Utah Jazz are on the line, and they drafted you. And, of course, Darryl played for Utah. So I'm like, this is crazy. Play again with Darryl. At Mill High School, we beat them at Fern Creek High School his senior year to go to the state. I go to Louisville with Darryl, win a championship with Darryl. Darryl goes on to be Rookie of the Year at Utah Jazz, and here I come. And all Frank said is, be in shape, you'll make my team. I said, well, that's easy. I'll be in shape. And after that, it was history. So I went to the Jazz, played, made second team All-Rookie, played well, had a great pro career, enjoyed it. I told everyone, NBA is a vitamin pill on steroids. It's not a career. I tore my knee up. I stole the ball against one of your greats, Cal Macy. True story. Yeah. In the 5th game of the semifinals of the Western Conference. I go down, shoot the layup, come back down. My mind is, I'm going to steal it from Cal again. As I'm turning, I tear a cartilage in my knee. After that, I bounced around. I played with the Atlanta Hawks, Sacramento Kings. But I told everyone, it's a vitamin pill on steroids. One injury, I wasn't good enough anymore. That's all there was to it, Ronnie. So after that, I worked for about 2.5, 3 years, the only time I really worked for a living, for a holding company in Dallas, Texas. And then I got into the coaching profession with Butch Beard at Howard University, and that was 1980. So I went to the Philippines in 87. I worked in Dallas half of 87, 88, 89. I went to Howard in summer of 89, and it was history after that. I coached and have been in athletics the rest of my life. That's
very cool. And so what does that look like for you? It sounds like, you went from being a student athlete, getting to play professionally, and now you've been pouring into student athletes for a considerable amount of time. What's that like for you, getting to be the guy now that's pouring into them and helping them be molded into not just good athletes, but good people that have solid foundations, and you get to have some direction and influence over what that looks like. What's that been like for you?
Yes, college is different. I was the head coach at North Carolina A&T for 9 years, and I had an opportunity to say no to student athletes. And I told them an old story that my dad told me a long time ago. He says, no shouldn't hurt your feelings, but get used to it. Yeah. And I told them the most important thing a coach can do. Coach Crum told Darryl Griffith all the time, no. He didn't start Darryl. He took Darryl out of games. Darryl was one of the greatest players ever out of the city of Louisville, other than Wes Unseld, Butch Beard, Clem Haskins, Darryl Griffith.
Yeah, you hear Darryl Griffith's name a ton around Louisville.
No question. Yeah. And I remember Coach Crum telling him no. It's like, And I told all my players, my job is to tell you no, not to make you feel good. Yeah. And my dad told me that as a small kid. Ask me. Don't be frightened to ask questions. Right. There are no dumb questions. Right. But don't be afraid of the word no. Get used to it because you're going to hear it a lot.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful, and I think in today's world, it's probably a lot. They don't hear
They don't
near
hear
as
no
much as they did in your era.
Exactly.
So, someone in
That's the problem.
someone in your era was going to take that a lot better than.
Tell them the kids. We always say bad kids. No, we got bad parents.
Yeah, well,
We got bad parents.
look,
Just bottom line.
I agree with that. My wife was a teacher in JCPS.
Exactly.
And anytime there was problems, she would even say, "It's not the kids, it's the parents," And so,
You have no idea. Bad parents, we really do. And I feel for the Jefferson County school system teachers, all teachers, because they want the teachers to do everything. No, the parents have to. It starts at home.
oh yeah, it's very hard on the
starts at
teachers.
home. Yes, the teachers are unfairly criticized. It's unbelievable. It just is. But, they seem to be the stopgap. They're just not paid enough.
Yeah,
America,
They're not.
we've got this twisted. Society, we've got it completely, totally twisted. But I'm not big enough to change it. I think that's out of my pay scale.
Yeah, I think it's a collective change. And it's interesting. You talk to people about it, and it seems like everyone agrees, except for...
until it says it's time to raise the tax bill.
Exactly.
Then they're like,
exactly.
oh, no,
Then they don't agree.
no.
They're
Exactly.
like, everybody agrees, and they go, no, wait,
Exactly.
we don't want to do it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was listening to one of your shows before you'd come on, and one thing I like that you do is you're talking about job openings within the city for coaches. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's really cool. I think that, attracting people to that because it does start with the parents, but there are opportunities, I think, with, for me, I had found some good mentors in high school that kind of pushed me in, not really pushed me into the Marine Corps, but kind of guided me that direction. Like, hey, look, you're going to go to jail if you don't go in the Marine Corps. And so I think by you bringing the attention and maybe putting someone in a kid's life to help direct them, I think that's one way we can curb that while we're waiting on everybody to get their heads out of their butts and get our teachers paid properly.
I mean, truly, when I had Dr. Brooks on with me, who's my niece, she runs the athletic directors in Jefferson County. And we were talking about the job fair, which is I don't know when you're hearing this, but it'll be airing the Monday. 26th of April, Saturday.
Okay.
From 9 to 12 at Seneca High School. And they can go and apply. And we were pushing for people to do that. And I'm sitting there all the time saying, I've been through doing this my entire life now, 38 years. We have to pay them more money because parents are off the chain. No one wants to deal with the parents, but no one wants to tell the parents.
Right.
And honestly, it's like we're frightened to tell the parents the truth. We have the first day of school, and honestly, we should have, before the first day of school, every parent should have to come sit in that gymnasium, football stadium, and truly hear it. And if they can't handle it, it's their choice to pull their kid that minute, that day. But after that, follow the rules.
Right.
It's your choice. But don't come in here and think we're bending anything. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And it would help. But we don't have parents to support. We don't.
Yeah.
Parents are bad.
Get some discipline in your life somehow. No, I agree. We ended up having to pull our kids out of, or we decided early on that we weren't going to put our kids in JCPS, unfortunately. And it's like a lot of parents now are moving to counties to get them out of JCPS. It's unfortunate. There are still some good schools, so don't get me wrong. Ballard being a great example of that.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's tough all over. And I mean, there's issues everywhere.
Correct.
As we well know.
Correct.
And of course, I live in Prospect. I know everybody's running to Odom County, and I see people lined up trying to get up US 42 to go home. And I feel for them. The traffic's too bad, and the infrastructure's not correct.
Yeah.
But it's not if I go to a different school system. My dad was the first microbiologist from University of Louisville, PhD.
That's awesome.
My sister, I'm not saying was the second, but she followed in the same footsteps. She worked at the water company. She died of cancer. My brother went to Louisville Speed School. You can get a great education anywhere.
Yes, you can.
Still, it comes back to if there is a disruption, it must be dealt with. That's all.
Yeah.
That's just bottom line. But if you can, and he would roll over in his grave, if I would have sent any of my kids to a private school, he'd roll over his grave. Because he would say, again, even with the disruption,
It's life.
he says it's your job, mine, talking to me, his son, to get what she's teaching.
Yeah.
So I don't care what you have to do to block him out. That's part of life.
Yeah. That's
Because
a good lesson.
It's going to happen no matter where they go to school. The clutter is waiting for them when they walk outside. Right. Some families have it. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
They have it, and it's been laid out for them, and it's not been easier, but they don't have to fight the same road that everyone else.
Right.
But the clutter is waiting for them no matter where they go to school.
Exactly. When the bell rings.
They're going to have to deal with the public the minute they walk out, senior year in high school, or if they went to a private university, it makes no difference. you're still going to have to deal with the clutter when you walk out. You must deal with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think going to a public school kind of helped me in that regard, because when I would run into challenges with other individuals, I had already kind of experienced it in that way. And that was one of the challenges when we decided to put our kids in a private school. I'm like, listen, they better have some tough coaches in there, because I need them to be able to handle it. So let me ask you now, I know you've got some more to be. You got an awesome golf round to play.
Absolutely, my boys. We have a good time. Family's everything.
It is. And mine are 6 and about to turn 8, and I've got them playing golf now. I never played golf growing up, but I'm like, listen.
I didn't either. They were teeing it up in the middle of the fairway, and I never owned clubs.
That's the way it was. That's the way it was for me. For me, it was basketball, and that was it. I mean, there was no other sport for me. So, but anyway, now I want them to play so that when they get older, I got some golfing buddies. Sounds like you have the same.
I've got golfing buddies. We have a great time. All over the country we play.
That's awesome. So my last question for you is, so, you're an athletic director now at Simmons. I went and watched some interviews before you came on, and I saw that you guys were playing U of L, got to play Kenny Payne and Coach Mack, and looking at the generation now, have you changed your methodology at all in how you are coaching kids now, or is it the same as it's always been, and maybe the way that you implement it? We live in this age of information now, so we've got more access to information, more best practices and methodologies. Is there anything that you have changed in the way that you're bringing stuff to the table to coach these kids up?
Well, of course, I retired 3 years ago.
Okay.
I coached Simmons for 7 years before I just said straight athletic director job. I got tired. We had 6 o'clock practices. That's the only time I would make them practice, because, again, that was the purpose. What will you sacrifice to be a part of the program? And the program has to be the most important piece. Yeah. Well, right now, of course, the individuals that we are, and they have forgotten the concept of team sports. So now parents believe that they're plug and play with their kids. So at Simmons, it was really simple, because I could care less if I won a game. Same thing for DeJuan Wheat, Tony Branch, Reverend Cosby. That's not the purpose. It's great for a coach because they don't have to win. They do not have to win. They have to raise young men. Yeah. But they do have to understand that they're representing something bigger than them, the kids. And if they can't handle that responsibility where they have to do things right because they're part of Simmons, then again, I ask them to be grown men, make grown men's decisions. I love you either way, but you're going to make a decision today. You're going to be part of the program, do it the right way, or you're not. Yeah. That's the second thing. I told Eve all the way back to North Carolina A&T. Parents, don't ever call me about playing if you don't come to every practice. All my practices everywhere I've been, other than professionally, are open. Coach Crump's practices were open. He didn't close them. People used to walk in and watch us practice all the time. It's no secret formula. Right. It's just hard work. But if they didn't come to practice every day, don't call me and ask me about your son's playing time.
I like that.
I've got nothing to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Now, you can call me and talk to them about their grades and their behavior, and if they're having an issue on campus, call me every night. But do not, and I told them directly, and I had absolutely no problems at North Carolina A&T. I loved it dearly until they let me go. Yeah. But, I mean, that's part of our job. Yeah. It was the best job I ever had, and the parents understood. And we were there to graduate their student athletes, and we did well. Yeah. We won a lot of games. I mean, we did really, really well. But the bottom line is that I wasn't going to talk to parents about playing because you're not at practice. So don't tell me about what you know when you don't know. Really, and that's the problem with coaches today. They don't have enough, what I'd say, caveat to truly tell a parent you don't know. That's the problem. Gotcha. So parents come in, I've been an AAU coach, I've coached my son, I know. Shut up. Yeah. But coaches don't, a lot that are going to the job fairs, don't have the caveat to tell them you don't know. Right. And that's the problem. That's why it's made it difficult. So we do have to grow young coaches. People like myself, DeJuan Wheat, we have to nurture young coaches. Tony Branch, help them get going and do the same thing. But we have to bring young coaches around so that they'll be able to look parents in the face and just tell them the truth. You don't know. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take your son or daughter. That's your responsibility. No problem. Yeah. But you're not going to tell me what you know, because you don't.
Right. And you're entrusting me with your athlete anyway. So let me do my job. And no, I think that's important. We have just a caveat here. We had a young kid. So my sons play baseball. They're really into baseball. And the coach needed some help. He didn't have enough assistant coaches. So I'm like, I'll help you. And one of the kids just wasn't coming to practice, showed up on game day to play. And I was like, look, man, you don't put him in the field. Don't put him in the field, and I'll talk to the parents for you, but do not put him in the field. All these other kids have practiced 15 times, and he's just going to show up and play. That's not fair to them. They're putting in the work.
Absolutely.
And maybe he's got talent, but who cares? I mean, look, it's Little League, dude. Who cares? So guess what happened? He got in the game, and I'm like, it burned me up a little bit because, I mean, he's the coach, so it's kind of like, you do you. But
I've been an assistant coach longer than I was a head coach.
But that hurts. That hurts the even though they're little kids, okay. But if you look at that as they get older, that hurts the chemistry of the team, and then the other kids start going, well, why am I putting in all this work if he's going to get the same playing time? I don't need to be coming to practice either. And then it just snowballs into massive problems within a team and an organization overall. So I think people got to get tough skin. At the end of the day, I think we got to get comfortable with the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts.
It does. You have to communicate with them, though. So before your first practice, when you had all your players together and parents, you have to tell them what the standards are.
I like that, yeah.
And then at that time, there's no question. The parent knows he's not going to play. The kid knows he's not going to play. And if they don't know, then you have to discard them.
Right.
If they know the rule and still come in acting like, well, shouldn't Johnny play? You knew the rules when you accepted coming here.
Hopefully you can get some reps by watching.
So exactly. So truly, if they would learn to communicate with everyone better up front, it would be a lot easier. And get people up front, like I told you with high schools.
Yeah.
Buy into the system, or it's your job to find a place you want to put them. But buy in, because this is the way this system is run.
Yeah.
It's their decision to, again, not be bussed everywhere. Busting's awful. It should have never happened. But, and for Jefferson County taxpayers to pay to bus someone all over, it's your job to move to that district. If you think that's the proper place, move.
Yeah.
And you should be able to play right away, no question.
Yeah.
But don't say that somebody's taxpayer dollars should send them from Prospect to Dulles or Dulles to Prospect and say they should play. It doesn't. You should have to move as the parents. If that's what you think is in the best interest of your kid, move.
Agreed.
Period.
Agreed. Yeah, me and my wife have talked about that. When I was going to Fern Creek, it was people from all over, everywhere were coming to Fern Creek. They had just started that, like my junior year or something, and it was a complete mess.
Yes, your kid there, Polio's retiring, John Marshall, and it's easy to jump up and down, but there's absolutely no way. I just want people to know that we can bus every kid everywhere they want to be. God says, get away from me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, we saw what happened last year. Kids weren't getting home till 10 p.m.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it was a mess.
So, again, it falls back on the parents. If
Agreed.
the Ballard District is the place you want to be, move to the Ballard District.
Correct.
If PRP is the place you want to be, got great coaches. I know everyone there.
Great system at PRP.
Move to the PRP district.
Yeah.
You make the decision and move.
Right.
That's part of the commitment. That's part of being part of the community. That's what will bring things where we need them again. That's all.
I was gonna agree with that. I think that's what really builds the community, because then you've got kids that are growing up near their schools and they have that pride and the community pride, and then you can really build a program off of that. And if you're bussing everybody in from every year, it's hard to get that kind of solid core foundation.
Which hurt the athletic piece. That had nothing to do with athletics, but it hurt the athletic piece.
Yes, unintentionally, I think. So. Well, Jerry, I know you've got to go, man. I greatly appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on here. So, guys, if you don't know Jerry, go check him out. Go check out Simmons College. These guys are doing some great things over there.
They can find me 790 KRD from 7 to 8 a.m.
Yeah. It's a great show. I went and started listening to some episodes when you and I had connected. And if you're a Louisville fan, especially, go and check out Jerry's show. If you're a college basketball fan, it's definitely worth listening to. Guys, if you enjoyed the show and you got some value out of it, please share the show. Subscribe to the show. We're going to be bringing you great value over the next several weeks as we've got many guests coming in. So we appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a war going on inside. Just to name a couple, I battle with porn and pride. In a persistent struggle, a reoccurring huddle, a prayer meeting with me and the Holy Spirit. Feeling free, but no, I'm nowhere near it. But thank God for his conviction. The awkward part of me that may leave others to suspicion and call me into question. I confess my addiction. Know it's a lethal weapon. May compromise the mission. Being proselytized from this humanistic system. You think about that until